Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
So, since we don't have any visitors, I'll skip some of the introductory materials, but we'll remind everyone that our worship theme for this month is the gift of transformation. And as always, hope everyone finds something in the service to open your mind and lift your spirit. And a reminder that this congregation, like others in the Unitarian Universalist Association, is a shared faith without a creed. And one of our shared principles is acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. And announcements this morning. Worship team has discussed, and we are not going to do a service next week. 5 Sundays sure is a lot to cover, so we're going to skip and let everyone go do other Easter festivities if you celebrate Easter elsewhere. So, and then church will meet the week after that, but I won't be here. So
I will be here.
Yes, so I think you'll be leading that week, I believe. Yeah. Okay. So, any other announcements to share? I'll also just share, I had a random call from somebody at the UUA verifying our address because they had some mail come back, which I verified, but just it was a little check-in, and he also said be on the lookout for the annual giving mail thing that they'll be sending us soon. So there we go on that. Okay. Let us enter the spirit of worship together. Our opening words are by Leonard Mason. We affirm the unfailing renewal of life, rising from the earth and reaching for the sun, all living creatures shall fulfill themselves. We affirm the steady growth of human companionship, rising from ancient cradles and reaching for the stars, people the world over shall seek the ways of understanding. We affirm a continuing hope that out of every tragedy, the spirits of individuals shall rise to build a better world. And our chalice lighting. Here today in this place and with these people, may we listen so that we can hear. May we hear so that we can feel. May we feel so that we can know, and may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. May this chalice we light our way. And now we will sing, I Know This Rose Will Open, number 396. I know this rose will open, I know my fear will burn away, I know my soul will unfurl its wings, I know this rose will open, I know this rose will open, I know my fears will burn
doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with one another.
Thank you. Please be seated. Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a spiritual community where we find meaning. Ours is a sharing community where our joys are amplified, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. We take this moment to reflect on our joys and concerns and acknowledge the mutual support of our community. If you'd like to share a special joy or concern, you're invited to drop a pebble in the water and share in a few words or in silence. And I will do another for those joys and concerns expressed or not expressed in our hearts. And if you would join me for the responsive reading to close our joys and concerns. May the joys and concerns spoken here this morning
And those which remain unspoken, known only to those who hold them.
may these joys and concerns be enfolded in the warmth of this community.
May that warmth extend sympathy and compassion to all who are hurting in our world.
Okay. And our first reading this morning, it's sort of a story for all ages-ish reading, so a little bit long, but I liked it and hope you will too. It's called Homer's Wings, and it's by Caitlin Cotter Coilberg. Not so long ago, and so far away, high up in the mountains on a black cherry tree, an egg was laid on a leaf, and in the light of the full moon, out of that egg hatched a little brownish caterpillar with white markings that would look to any bird who might chance by, perhaps like bird droppings. The caterpillar's name was Homer. Homer looked around in surprise and wonder to find himself alive in the world. "Better eat your egg casing, little friend," said a black and spiky caterpillar nearby. Homer did just that, and then turned to look at his new friend. "Welcome to the world," said the other caterpillar, whose name was Anna. "It's delicious. Here, try some of this leaf." Together, the two caterpillars munched on leaves that spring through rain and sun, sunrises and sunsets. They laughed together at the antics of baby birds and hid together under leaves that the black spiky caterpillar had collected so that parent birds could not catch them. Anna taught Homer all he needed to know about life on a leaf: how to stay safe, how to munch, how to enjoy the feeling of the wind stirring the tree and the sun slowly warming the mountains each morning. Together they gazed each night up at the beautiful moon. But one day the black spiky caterpillar started something totally new and different. "What are you doing?" asked Homer, as Anna carefully put down silk on the underside of a twig in the newest collection of leaves and began hanging upside down. "Making a chrysalis," said Anna. "A what?" "You'll see." And over the next couple of days, in the shelter of the leaves, the spiky black caterpillar shifted and shed its skin and became a strange, lumpy brown thing hanging there, not making any conversation. What could this mean? For a week, Homer munched quietly by himself, watching the strange brown hanging thing that used to be his friend, wondering and worrying as the strange, lumpy brown thing shifted in color and size and pattern. Then one day, out of the strange, lumpy brown chrysalis pushed an even stranger new creature. Homer watched as this new creature pumped blood into its black and white and bright orange wings. Wings? And unfurled a strange new mouth. "What?" cried Homer. "Who?" The new creature turned to look at him. "Oh, little friend," it said, "it's still me, Anna, the one you laughed and hid and munched leaves and watched the moon with. But now I'm a butterfly, an admiral butterfly to be specific," Anna said proudly. "But you changed," cried Homer. "You were as constant as the moon, and now you've changed." Anna smiled gently. "Oh, friend," they said, "we're supposed to change. Why, even the moon is different night to night. Sometimes we see all of it, sometimes only a sliver, and sometimes we can't see it at all. But I don't want to change, lamented Homer, scared and sad. Change is part of who we are, said the butterfly, who was Anna. And now our friendship must change too. I must fly away in search of flowers and other butterflies, and eventually I'll fly south to stay warm in the winter. You must continue to eat and grow and stay safe from the birds, but you will change too. Just remember you are loved, and whatever your body does, you are a beautiful friend, and I'm glad to know you. And with that, Anna took to the sky. All that summer, Homer, the little brown caterpillar, ate and grew and hid and watched the moon, which did indeed look a little different every night. Homer became a bigger brown caterpillar. His white splotch turned into two little eye shapes, so he looked like a fearsome little snake, and no birds ate him. Day by day, the seasons moved toward autumn. Finally, Homer found his own safe spot to hang upside down and shifted into a chrysalis. This was scary, but Homer remembered his friend and was brave. All winter, the chrysalis hung there safe and still. In the spring, Homer felt himself stir, felt his new body shift once again, and wiggled free to find himself with a new mouth and different shape and wings! Wings that were yellow and black and blue and orange and glorious. Oh my, said Homer, the Appalachian tiger swallowtail, gazing at himself in wonder and delight. And then he took off into the sky, bold as a bird, up towards the bright moon. And our offertory. Freely have we received of gifts that minister to our needs of body and spirit. Gladly we bring to our church and its wide concerns a portion of this bounty.
You I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Okay, and now it's time to sing again. The last So our second reading this morning is it's an excerpt from a speech given by Frederick Douglass. So the British government formally abolished slavery in its colonies with the passage of the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833, and the legislation went into effect in August of 1834. Whereby all slaves in the British Empire were considered free under British law. Then on August 3rd, 1857, Frederick Douglass delivered a West India emancipation speech in New York on the 23rd anniversary of the effectiveness of this legislation. And this is an excerpt from that speech. Friends and fellow citizens, we have met here today to celebrate with all fitting demonstrations of joy and gladness this, the 23rd anniversary of the inauguration of freedom as the ruling law of the British West Indies. Let me give you a word on the philosophy of reform. The whole history of the progress of human liberty shows that all concessions yet made to her august claims have been born of earnest struggle. The conflict has been exciting, agitating, all-absorbing, and for the time being, putting all other tumults to silence. It must do this or it does nothing. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them, and these will continue until they are resisted with either words or blows or with both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. And our meditation this morning is by Reverend D. Scott Cooper, and we'll observe a silence at the end of the reading. We bow our heads in order to imagine not one path, but many. We imagine a path forward for those who cannot imagine any path forward because of poor health, financial hardship, family crises, and other roadblocks we cannot begin to understand or imagine. We struggle to imagine a path forward for those who are forced to leave a homeland against their will, and for those unable to leave a war-torn homeland despite their lives being in danger. We imagine a path forward for those who leave their homes to make a better life for their families elsewhere. May we be a welcoming presence along that path forward toward hope. We come together to imagine a path forward for those of us despairing because we do not seem to know our country nor our neighbors, despite the fact that we have not moved at all. May we be the good we are hoping to find as we travel side by side down the path toward hope. Imagine a path forward for those who feel lonely. May we take one another's hands as we walk that path toward community. Truly, we know as we imagine these ways forward and take one another's hands, the path will lead to hope. The roads will lead to beloved community, and the arc will bend toward justice because we have dared to travel with love in our hearts. We now join together in a time of silence. And our sermon this morning is by the Reverend Andrew L. Weber. It's called No Struggle, No Progress. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This is not easy to hear. Frederick Douglass goes on talking about those people who died or who killed to ensure their freedom from slavery in the United States. Those people who chose to die rather than be enslaved. Those people who, like Douglass, saw violence as the only resort to an evil system. I'm not so sure that I disagree with him on this point. Douglass was speaking in New York celebrating the emancipation of slaves there 23 years prior. But in the United States, slavery was still legal. People were still being bought, sold, hunted down, abused. Our Civil War came less than 4 years after Douglass's speech, and emancipation another 4 later. So was violence necessary to end the evil of slavery? Probably. Even with slavery's end, we know that equality was not guaranteed, neither legally nor culturally. Here we are about 150 years later in a culture and country built on a foundation of patriarchy and white supremacy. The patriarchy and white supremacy, which means that I have privilege just because of who I am and what I look like. I don't have to teach my children about being extremely careful how they approach police officers. I don't have to worry about going for a run in the dark. I am neither perceived as a threat nor a target, right? I mean, it's all those pieces of others' lives which I don't have to think about, which is my privilege. If you can live your life without having to think about race, that's your privilege right there. So what do? How do we change a system which we are so enmeshed in and born from that we don't even see it? Well, we ask for help. We do some really hard work. We get uncomfortable and listen to disturbing and maybe unwelcome truths from people who can see that reality, which we can't. I have to be open to hear really uncomfortable and painful truths before I can do some really uncomfortable and painful work in my own life and in my own community. I saw a social media post recently which highlighted this truth. Plain text saying, "Teach me about racism," they say, "but do not hurt my feelings, make me upset, talk about violence, allude to my privileges, never ever contradict what I already believe in." Yes. Sometimes people say they want to get better at something, they say they want to learn and grow, but only in a very comfortable and easy fashion, a way that won't challenge or upset their lives. Please teach me about racism in our culture and how I can be an anti-racist working toward equality. Oh, but don't upset my worldview or challenge my understandings. It's an absurdity and impossibility. If we want to change a system, if we're actually committed to learning and working for anti-racism, then we're going to be challenged and upset and hopefully, yes, hopefully, lose some of our privilege. I'm speaking to myself here. I'm speaking to anyone with any sort of privilege. Does your identity give you a head start or boost up? The fight for justice is one where you lose something. It's a fight against yourself, which is good. For growth of this kind can only come through loss, through pain, through struggle. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. What a place to start. Thought we were talking about butterflies emerging from chrysalis in the first week of spring, and here we are jumping into slavery and racism. Yes, maybe I'll talk about Easter next and coming from death and all things being renewed. Did you catch that? Spring is the perfect time to talk about learning and growing and striving for a better world. The caterpillar eats a bunch of food, wraps itself up, and then boom, out emerges a butterfly. But while in the chrysalis, the caterpillar becomes a pile of goo. This is from Scientific America. First, the caterpillar digests itself, releasing enzymes to dissolve all of its tissues. If you were to cut open a cocoon or chrysalis at just the right time, caterpillar soup would ooze out. Getting a look at this metamorphosis as it happens is difficult. Disturbing a caterpillar inside its cocoon or chrysalis risks botching the transformation. This is the correlation, the place where our faith, butterflies, and racism all intersect. We're committed to a just world, right? We want to get to a place where we are instruments of peace, of equality, of anti-racism. This is the work of renewing faith. We want to renew our faith to be focused on making the world a better place. We want to be renewed by our faith, ever committed to our highest ideals, right? I mean, that's a big reason why people come to religious institutions. I want to be a better person. I want to help make the world a better place. Just look at the mission of Unitarian Universalist Church of Delaware County, where Reverend Weber delivered this sermon. The mission is to ignite personal growth. I've got some news for you. Igniting something means lighting it on fire. I'm sure I want to get excited about personal growth. I want to get fired up about becoming a better person. That analogy works great. Igniting personal growth, getting fired up. There's a spark of inspiration, a flame of excitement. Fire's exciting. Fire is energetic, and fire is devastating. Fire is painful. Fire gets rid of the old and makes way for the new. If we ignite our personal growth, we are getting to that place of letting go of our old ways of thinking and preparing for new ways of thinking, for a renewal of faith. That's the intersection, the point at which the struggle is necessary for progress, the point at which the caterpillar turns to go in its way to transformation, the point at which we say yes to a renewal of faith, which necessitates letting go of comfortable ways of being and embracing the uncomfortable realities. Sometimes we want that growth without the growing pains. We want crops without plowing up the ground, rain without thunder and lightning, the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. Oh, but we are comfortable. Our religion tells us that we are valuable, that we have worth and dignity. Yes, and that doesn't mean our work is done. We also believe in justice, equity, compassion, peace, liberty, and justice. Aspirations which come at a cost. Progress which comes with a struggle. I'm talking about renewal of faith, both in community and personal. We renew our beliefs all the time. We come to new understandings and new comprehensions with respect to the world and with respect to our place in it. While at the same time, our faith compels us to renew our actions, renew our commitments. So what does that look like? Renewal looks like engaging in difficult conversations. Renewal looks like going to therapy and doing the hard work of self-discovery and healing. Renewal looks like struggle, like discomfort, like asking for help and being open to criticism. Renewal means praying and hoping for the crops and the plowing, being ready for the rain and the lightning. It's being ready to turn into a pool of goop before transforming into something different. I go to therapy not because I want a pat on the back and to tell me I'm doing a good job. I go to therapy because I have some stuff I want to work through. I want progress, so I get beneficial struggle. I'm reminded here of a story I read many years ago, Maniac McGee. The title character, called Maniac, gets really good at untying knots. Eventually, the neighborhood children come to him when their shoelaces are stuck and tied tight, or when their yo-yos get entangled. Maniac is able to untangle them all, and so he tackles larger and larger knots. At a pivotal moment in the tale, Maniac tackles an enormous knot of almost mythical proportions. He succeeds in untangling the knot, but his success isn't what has stuck with me over the years. What stuck with me was that at the middle of his struggle, the knot is larger. As he's picking, searching, working, tugging here or there, the knot itself is physically larger. His problem is bigger than when he started. Anyone who's ever tried to untie stuck shoelaces knows the physical truth here. When you want to undo a knot, there's a moment before success when the problem has grown. A moment when the conundrum you started with is larger. And that's the moment we're looking for. That moment when the knot is of Herculean proportions. When there are strings going this way and that way, our little ball is now larger than we can see at one glance. That's the moment when we know we're on the right path. Only when Maniac has the knot expanded and enlarged is the time that he can start to see how to untangle it. Only when the caterpillar is torn apart can the butterfly start to grow. Only when I start to pick through my own prejudices and delve into my privilege can I see what connects where and how I can transform. Only when we sit with a therapist and untangle our distress or anxiety can we start to imagine a different path forward. Only when our community gets into the thick knots of cultural oppression and internalized racism can we conceive of untangling them. If you're an engineer type, this is the exploded view of something, the drawing or diagram which shows all of the internal pieces of the machine or piece of equipment. An engine exploded into a schematic which shows all the pistons, spark plugs, shafts, and tubes. The drawing is nice and neat and can help us diagnose problems or see areas of possible improvement. Actually taking a tool and opening it up takes a lot of time and energy and possibly struggle to know what came from where, what can be altered or fixed. That is the struggle we must do for our progress. That is the work we need to do for our faith renewal, the struggle to open up our knots, to see ourselves in exploded view, and then get in there and spend some time in areas of pain, weakness, or fault. What a downer, right? Isn't religion supposed to comfort as well as challenge? All I'm hearing is challenge, 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 struggle, struggle, struggle. Yes, and the challenge is clear. The comfort comes from the same place, and it's twofold. One is that we can all grow. We can all progress. We can all renew. Second is that when you are most in the struggle, you're probably on the right path. If you're feeling like a pile of goo, if your knot is so large that you can't see the ends, if you're in the struggle but don't see the progress, good for you. That is where the transformation happens. You're in the perfect place for renewal and growth. If not already, talk to others. Reach out to professionals, seek community. We all have opportunities for renewal. It will be hard, but we can do it with support and with love guiding us. Step into the struggle, the unknown, the scary, become that goo. You can do it. You can make progress if you're open to the struggle. And our closing words are by Joseph M. Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as a people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. And if you would join me for our extinguishing the chalice words.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness which we learn light our hearts till we return. Thank you, friends.
Thank you.